Now, I want to go to deepening concerns around the budget blowout. This is for the Brisbane Olympic Games. I mean, this has got a bit of Victoria written all over it as well. The 2032 Games boss, Andrew Liveris, this week warned the Queensland state government's original operating budget bore no resemblance to reality. I mean, here to chat is our Friday regular, former Queensland Liberal Premier Campbell Newman. Campbell, great to see you again. How can the Queensland government guarantee taxpayers this thing is not going to blow out of all proportions, the budget's going to blow up?
Well, they simply can't, Steve. And it also needs to be viewed in the context of a pretty bad budget position that only in the last few days we've seen in the media, the fact that the state could be heading for a credit downgrade. So they've got, in 2 years' time, a state debt of around $205 billion. This year alone, this current financial year, they will run, and they're meant to be an LNP government, they're going to run a $9 billion deficit. Now, when you then turn back to the Olympics, when David Crisafulli was first Premier, he said, as Premier, there'd be no new stadiums. Subsequently, he's embarked on building a stadium, and you know my position on Victoria Park, which is going to cost at least $3.7 billion, and that's not the end of it. There's going to be a lot more there. So there's also then the issue where they've decided to, for political reasons, which, they're politicians, to disperse the Olympics across the state. So in this vast state, that people across Queensland get a chance to, as they would see it, to actually go and see a Games event. All that is a very dangerous combination, and this is not what we were sold by the former Lord Mayor, Graham Quirk, who led the charge to get the Games on the basis that it was going to be an economical Games. It was going to be using existing facilities, and it wouldn't put the state into extra debt.
Well, 2032, we all want an Olympic Games, but, only if we can afford it. I mean, Sydney was great. Sydney never really capitalised on it, but it was a great Olympics. But Victoria tried to do this. The Commonwealth Games fiasco, you might remember down here, Daniel Andrews decided before a state election that it would be a good idea to dot the events all around the state in seats that he wanted to win. Then when he got the election, he won. He cancelled the Commonwealth Games. It cost Victorians $500 million not to hold them. Why would you spread the Olympics right across Queensland when, as you say, it's a massive state?
Well, Steve, I guess they're doing it for political reasons as well. And I don't think that's a particularly good idea. And perhaps that's what Andrew Liveris was sort of intimating when he talked about this in the media in recent days. I mean, I'd simply be just saying to the government, look, you really need to, right now, curb your ambitions in terms of what you're going to spend on this, because it will get worse. I mean, going back to Victoria Park, which I just alluded to, they will be spending, I would say, at least $500 to $700 million more just to improve the access to the site from the inner city bypass and public transport infrastructure. It is not going to be what they're saying it is. They've really bitten off a heck of a lot. And I think the Premier should be asking a lot of questions of the Deputy Premier, Jared Blay.
Yeah, we're going to end. They'll put their hand out to Canberra too. Speaking of Canberra, what a mess this coalition thing is. I mean, you're a great observer of politics. You've now got, I had one of the coalition members on earlier, and she she describes herself as a coalitionist. But if the Liberals and the Nationals continue to go their separate ways, they're just going to get laughed at every week in question time, like they were this week, by an ascendant Labor Party who should be being heavily scrutinised for the job that they're doing.
Well, collectively, they're letting Australia down right now. There are serious issues that the government's failing us all on, and those matters need to be prosecuted by united opposition. I mean, I would like to see the coalition reformed. I don't know that either Sussan Ley or David Littleproud have it in themselves to do that at all now. And, again, I think both of them need to go. I've said that before in recent weeks. They need to go. How can Littleproud, work productively and, credibly with a leader, being Ley, that he has said needs to go himself? And that's the problem. But we do need to see the coalition reformed and moving on to take that argument to the government.
Angus Taylor has said to maybe trigger a leadership spill. Won't happen early in the week, but it might happen late next week. What do you think of his candidacy?
Well, I don't mind his policy perspective on matters. I think he's got the right ideas. My concern is, can he actually punch through? Can he actually excite Australians about the alternative? Can he actually describe matters to them in a way that will highlight the very grave issues that the country's facing right now, whether it be in terms of social cohesion and what the real reasons for that are, or of course on the important issues of the finances of government and our viability as a nation. I mean, can he do that? Oh, look, I'm not sure, but Andrew Hastie, I'm afraid, has not covered himself in glory in recent weeks. And what they all have to explain, the Liberal Party, is why they voted for the disgraceful legislation that is anti-democratic and ultimately, if it's not repealed, will be misused by future political figures.
Well, that's the position the Nats are standing firm on. They say, look, we couldn't have voted for that. And yes, that means that under convention the three of them had to step down from the front bench. But they voted on what they morally thought about that bill, which you've explained your view on that as well. So they're unlikely to, be able to just walk that back. I mean, that's a decision they've taken, and it's one that's done on principle.
Well, I thought they did take a very important principled stand, and I think the Libs made a huge mistake in showing, effectively a complete lack of respect for their junior coalition partner. My only criticism of the Nats and Littleproud in this matter is that I think Littleproud went too far by then saying that Ley had to go. And again, how could he possibly then work with her in the future, having expressed that opinion? His position then becomes untenable, and I'm afraid he made the Nats somehow the bad guys in this whole blown out affair. So, but the idea, by the way, of the Liberal Party going it alone, I think Senator Jane Humes expressed that in recent days, is it is delusional, particularly on the same sort of Labor light approach to political policy. It's like, I don't know if Senator Hume understands this, but they are in a power dive into the Grand Canyon. They are, and she seems to be enjoying the view on the way down, but the impact is coming. And like someone said to me today, you don't go bankrupt all of a sudden, you go bankrupt slowly and steadily. And that's what's happened to the coalition, particularly the Libs, but now it's hitting. They're bankrupt, and I don't know if they can turn it back unless they wake up about these matters.